Hello, this is Ashley Cedar. I am the mother of two in the 5 school district, and I, along with many of my peers, other parents and family members in the district, spoke at last month's or the last school board meeting on Monday, February 26th. Since we spoke, the district has been very vocal about stating that our facts and our data are just plain wrong. And so I didn't really plan anything here, but I wanted to pop on real quick to make a second video and show you where we are getting this information. It is publicly available. It's very easy to access, and I just want to show you where you can access it yourself, and then you can form your own opinions. We want to be very transparent about everything that we're doing and all of the information that we are gathering. In fact, we want to be overly transparent because we think that this is really important information that we should all know as parents and taxpayers. So first I wanted to show you, this is the video that we recorded of the comments that we made at the school board meeting. Probably going to get an ad here first. Yes, of course. Let's skip the ad. Okay, I just wanted to show you that I tried my best to separate it or to add channels by speaker so that you can flip to the speaker you'd like to listen to. Or if you can only do, listen to so much at a time, then you'll know where you left off when you go back to it. Also, the timestamps are down below. If you click on the timestamp link here, it will take you directly there. You can hit, if you need subtitles or closed captioning, just click here. It is auto-generated, but I found that it's actually pretty good. And then if you would like to follow along with the transcript, you can scroll down to hit show transcript, and it will pop up here on the upper right side. It is only in English. I believe you can copy and paste it into a Google Translator. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm willing to look into that for anyone who needs that. Just reach out and I will do my best to help you with that. So I wanted to show you that. Please, if you have a moment, take a listen. It's important stuff. Okay, first, we are going to go to, let's pause that. Okay, so fiscal.wa.gov. Lots of good information here. A lot of it is heavy and long and boring, and it's really, some of it's really hard to comb through. But it's important. So take the time that you have, and take a look if you can. We're going to go to K through 12 public schools, school employee salaries. One of the first bits of information that we repeat several times throughout our comments is the rate of Mr. Alfano's pay raises over the last few years. And I want to show you where you can easily find that. You can search by district. You can either scroll, or if you start typing, it'll pop up. And here are 5 salaries. Mr. Alfano's right up top. So I'm going to pull my calculator over here. And last year, his salary was 276,056 minus 1, 2, 3 years ago, 227,596. And that's where we got the $48,460 number that you hear repeated throughout our comments. If we go back even further, it's actually more staggering. If we go back 4 years, 276,056 minus 194,652, $81,404 in raises in 4 years. That is more than twice the amount that our average full-time paraeducator makes in this district. And those are just his increases in salary in the last 4 years. I also made a comparison between his salary and Superintendent Chamberlain's salary of the University Place District. So let's see, let's uncheck that. Here you can search by name. And let's add Mr. Chamberlain, make sure I'm spelling that correctly. Jeffrey? Yes, there we go. Okay. So as you can see here, let's, where'd my calculator go? If we compare their salaries, 276,056 from last year minus 246,005. Mr. Alfano made $35,451 more than Mr. Chamberlain last year. Also, the University Place District serves roughly 1,000 more students than the Fife District, and I'm going to show you where I got those numbers from in just a minute. It's a different website. Also, let's look at the comparison of Mr. Chamberlain's rate of increase in salary over the last 4 years compared to Mr. Alfano's. 2,40605 was his last year's salary divided by 2,08094. 4 years ago, it's a 15.6% increase. 760, oh, that's correct. 27605. 276,056 divided by 94652. 41.8% versus the 15% that Mr. Chamberlain his salary has increased over the last 4 years. Very interesting, especially when we move forward to the next website when I show you the performance of these two districts. It's staggering. There's lots of other information here. I encourage you, if you have the time, to click around and find out more information. It's eye-opening. So now we're going to go to the, let's see, here we go. So it's ospi.k12.wa.us. Here you can click on Data and Reporting and Report Card. I want to see data for a school or district. So we will look at Fife. So there's a little synopsis up here. It's important to note that the student enrollment number is for the current year, but most every other piece of data is for the year prior, or it's a real-time data figure. If you look down here, it says data is collected on different timelines throughout the year. So to provide the most current data possible, each measure is updated as data becomes available. You can see that this year we have 38, almost 3,900 kids enrolled. In the spring of 2023, this is the percent of the kids enrolled in our district who are meeting these standards. ELA is English Language Arts. Only 43.8%, 31% math, 40.5% science. 91% graduation rate, that's a 4-year graduation rate. Often Mr. Alfano will speak to a 94% graduation rate, but that's actually a 5-year graduation rate. If we look at 4 years, it's 91.2%. Before we get into this more, I just want to take a quick look. So remember these numbers, 3,800, 43, 31, 40. Let's just compare real quickly at a glance to University Place. Again, you don't have to scroll down. You could just start typing it and it'll populate for you, but okay, so 5,600 kids. So actually almost 1,700 more kids than we have in their district. It's a much larger district, even though their superintendent is making much less money. We've got, I mean, these numbers are staggering. 67.9% meeting ELA standards, 58 math, 54 science. These are almost, you know, anywhere in the range of 14 to 28 percentage points. That's a rough, estimate versus the numbers we just saw on the previous page. Also, the 94.7 graduation rate, that's a 4-year graduation rate, so it's much more accurate in terms of how successful our students are. I think it's important if we look at enrollment by trend. Since 2014, enrollment has been about flat. There was starting to be a little bit of an increase here, and then COVID obviously impacted that. But if we look at our enrollment now versus 10 years ago, it's the same. I say our, this is University Place, but let's look at, go back and look at Fife. And it'll show a very similar. We'll go to enrollment and trend. So a slight increase to 2014, maybe 220 kids more. And if you look at, so we'd started to increase here just before COVID, but 3908, 3851 to 3908, 3841, 3851, 3908, these are not huge increases. This is 70 kids over the 3 years prior to COVID. So Mr. Alfano will often say that the expectation for growth was much higher and that COVID impacted that. But based on these numbers, even if, looking at, what was it, 70 kids, it's 35 kids a year. So, their expectation might have been 3940 this year. And it dropped, it was, 140 short of that. But now if we look at where we are now, this is very comparable to where we were pre-COVID. There's nothing astounding here. Okay, I spoke to non-instructional versus instructional spending, so I'm going to go back to University Place. I'll show you that. Oh, maybe you can't. Okay. I'll go back to University Place. If you scroll down, I've got a couple of things to show you actually here. Just student growth and we're going to go to trend. So this is 2014, 54% of their students were meeting ELA standards, grade level standards. 2023, 2022, 23, 56%. So this 61 was pre-COVID. So yes, there's been a drop since COVID, which would be expected, but the overall trend is either flat or slightly elevated. Looking at math, 61% in 2014. There was a drop here, and then just before COVID, there was an increase back up to that 62%. COVID hit, there's a slight drop here to be expected, but nothing here is, astounding. Versus, let's look at our student growth in Fife, the trend. We scroll down to student growth and trend. Now, it's important to note that 2014 is the year that Mr. Alfano took office. Unfortunately, I do not have access, or at least I'm not aware that I have access to figures prior to 2014. And if anyone knows of where that information is publicly available, I would appreciate that if you would just reach out. But that year, 60% of our students were meeting grade level standards in ELA. So huge drop, 12-point drop in 2015, another drop in 2016. Looks like I'd like to know it picked up a little bit of momentum, but then another drop. It was short-lived. And this was prior to COVID, 49%. That's an 11-point drop from 2014. For the sake of parity, I believe these reports leave out those COVID years. They're directly affected by COVID. But you can see this past year, we're 50%. That is a 10-point drop in the 10 years since he took office, and that's where we got that number from. That figure that we pointed out during our public comments. It's very similar in math, actually maybe even more disturbing in math. 57% in 2014 when Mr. Alfano took office. There was a drop, 2-point drop. The next year, another 2-point drop, another 2.5-point drop, another 3.5-point drop. Now we're flat to pre-COVID, but that is down 10 points in 10 years. This doesn't speak to this doesn't tell us what's going on behind the data. But rather than the district saying, this data is wrong, they're incorrect, these are all lies. They're not lies. This data is factual. It is right in front of you. But so what I would like to hear the district speak to is what is happening? What is happening over the last 10 years that our students are increasingly struggling with test scores when comparable districts are not struggling in the same way? I also spoke to instructional versus non-instructional expenditures. So I'm going to go back to University Place. If you scroll down on the left side to actual expenditure summary, you can see here for the 2022-2023 year, University Place's instructional expenditure per student was 81.66%. Non-instructional spending was 18.34%. So 81.66. I'm going to write that number down. It's taken a lot of time. I will say I have spent hours upon hours upon hours of the last few weeks combing through these websites and all of this information to shed some light for all of you. I hope that you go in and do it yourself as well. But it is not, it's all there, but it's not as easy to compare, and it takes time. So I have not figured out how to directly compare districts, and if anyone has any recommendations, I am all ears. I will take some pointers. But so I'm going to write down that number, 81.66. And now I'm going to go back to Fife. And we are going to scroll down to actual expenditure summary. And here you can see our instructional spending was much lower at 71.1 per student, with non-instructional spending being 28.9%. Okay, so here is my calculator. So if we take the total per pupil expenditure that Five spent, 17,613.37, and multiply it by the 81.66% of instructional spending that University Place spent last year, 0.8166. That would have been $14,383 that we would have spent per student on instructional spending versus the $12,522 that we actually spent. So let's see what the difference is. Minus 12,522.53. It's a difference of $1,860.55 per student that we could have spent on instructional spending. If we multiply that number by the 3890 enrollment, that is over $7.2 million that was spent last year on non-instructional expenditures in the Five school district that we could have, per the performance of another district, we've seen that we could have spent on instructional spending. And instructional spending is directly related to improve student outcomes. In conclusion, I mean, all of this is to say, we can look at it in so many different ways, and I do believe that um, we presented it on Monday night in many different ways. Our district administration is too expensive. The size is excessive. The expenditures in the district office are excessive. Let me know if this helped. Let me know if you comment with questions. Is there something that was unclear? Is there more that you want me to show you? Um, Let me know. I might make some more videos of this so that you can see where we're getting our information. We're not pulling this out of thin air. This is all public information. It is equally accessible to all. Um, that's it for today. Thank you.